Hello students, how are you doing? How about your studies? Hope you are doing well. Now let's continue. Last day we have studied about estimation. That is about estimating or rounding off to the nearest tens, hundreds, thousands. Now let's continue with the chapter. The first portion is to estimate the sum or difference. The estimation of sum and difference. Here, when you have to find the sum or difference, you have to find the smaller number. And then you have to round off both the numbers to the greatest place of the smaller number. First, you have to find the smallest number. Then you have to round off both the numbers to the greatest place of the smaller number. Now, I'll explain it with an example. Consider the number 2874 and 135. We are adding these two numbers. We have to get an estimated value. So when we are adding these two numbers, what we have to do is, we have to first find the smallest number. Here, which number is the smallest one? It is 135. So, how many digits are there in 135? There are only 3 digits. That means the greatest place is of the hundreds place. Here, as 135 has only got 3 digits, the greatest place is hundreds. So, we have to round off both the numbers to hundreds. What we have to do is, we have to check the smallest number and then find the greatest place of that number. Then we have to round off both the numbers to that place. Here, as 135 has got only 3 digits, that means the greatest places of hundreds, we have to round both the numbers to hundreds. So first we can round 2874 to the nearest hundreds. We'll round 2874 to the nearest hundreds. We know that when we are rounding off to the nearest hundred, we have to check the digit at tens place. Here the digit at tens place is 7. So now we have to check whether 7 is greater than or less than 5. We know that 7 is greater than 5. So what we have to do? We have to add 1 to the hundreds place. So when we are adding 1 to the hundreds place, we will get the answer as 9. Then what about the tens and ones place? We have to put zeros there. So we'll put zeros in the tens and the ones place. And now we have to write the thousands place here as itself. So 2 will be written here itself. So when we are rounding off 2874 to the nearest hundreds, we'll get the answer as 2900. So now we have to do the same for the number 135. Our number is 135. Here when we are looking, we know that 3 is in the tens place. We know that 3 is less than 5. That means we have to write the digit at hundreds place as itself. So we'll write 1 here itself. Then what we have to do? We have to put zeros and tens and ones place. Now when we are rounding off 135 to the nearest hundred, we got the answer as 100 itself. So now we can add these two numbers. When we are adding 0 plus 0, we'll get it as 0 itself. 0 plus 0, we'll get 0. 9 plus 1, we'll get it as 10 with a carry 1. So 2 plus 1, 3. Our estimated value will be 3000. It will be 3000. Now let's do another example. consider the numbers 742. What is the number? 742. And the number 28. Suppose we are finding the difference. What we have to do is, we have to check the smallest number. Here 28 is the smallest number. So how many digits are there for 28? There are only 2 digits. That means the greatest place is that of tens. So we have to round off both the numbers to the nearest tens. So first we will do the rounding off of 742. 742. When we are rounding off 742 to the nearest tens, we have to check the digit at one space. Here the digit at one space is 2. We know that 2 is less than 5. So what we should do? We should keep the digit at 10 space as itself. So we'll write 4 here itself. Then we have to put a 0 at 1's place. Then we have to write the digit at 100's place as itself. So when we are rounding off 742 to the nearest tens, we get the answer as 740. Now we have to round off 28. Check the digit at 1's place. It is 8. We know that 8 is greater than 5. So we have to add 1 to the digit at 10's place. So when we are adding 1 to the digit at 10's place, we get the answer as 3 here. Now put the 0 in 1's place. So when you are putting 0 in 1's place, we get the answer as 30. So rounding off 28 to the nearest 10, we get the answer as 30. Now what we have to do? We have to find the difference. So 0 minus 0, it will be 0. Then 4 minus 3, 1 and 7. So our answer will be 710. So our estimated value is 710. Now let's do some problems. Our first question is to find the sum of two numbers, that is 8,348 and 2,367. We have to find the sum. For estimation, what we have to do? We have to check the smallest number. Here we know that both the numbers have same number of digits. So what should we do? We should round both the numbers to the thousands place. Round off both the numbers to the thousands place. So first we will write 8,348. We'll round this number. So when we are rounding the number to the nearest thousands place, what we have to do? We have to check for the digit at hundreds place. Here the digit is 3. We know that 3 is less than 5. So what we should do? We should keep the digit at thousands place as itself and put zeros in hundreds, tens and ones place. So when we round off 8,348 to the nearest thousands, we get 8,000. Now, what about the next number? Our next number is 2,367. Here also we have to check the digit at hundreds place. So here again it is 3. So we know that 3 is less than 5. So we have to keep the digit at thousands place as itself and put zeros in hundreds, tens and ones place. So when we are adding these two numbers, what we will get? 0 plus 0 will be 0. 0 plus 0, 0 again. 0 plus 0, 0. And 8 plus 2, 10. We get the answer as 10,000. When we are finding the estimated value for the sum of 8,348 and 2,367, we get the value as 10,000. Now let's do the next one. It is 6,705 and 543. 6,705 and 543. So what we should do? We should find the difference. So first we have to find the smallest number. The smallest number here is 543. How many digits are there? There are 3 digits. That is the greatest places of hundreds. So we have to round off to the nearest hundreds. So first we will round off 6,705 to the nearest hundreds. So what we'll get? We have to check the digit at tens place. It is 0. So we know that 0 is less than 5. So we have to keep the digit at hundreds place as itself and put 0 in tens and ones place. And again now write the digit at thousands place as itself. So we'll get the answer as 6,700. Now what about the next number? It is 543. When we are rounding off to the nearest 100, we have to check the digit at tens place. So here it is 4. So we know that 4 is less than 5. So we have to leave the digit at hundreds place as itself. Then 0 in tens and ones place. So now we have to find the difference. So when finding the difference, 0 minus 0, we'll get it as 0. 0 minus 0, we'll get it as 0. 7 minus 5, we get it as 2. And 6 can be written there. So our estimated value will be 6,200. The estimated value is 6,200. So now the next question is find the difference or the estimated value of 156 and 45. 156 and 45. What we have to do is we have to check for the smallest number. Here the smallest number is 45. How many digits are there? There are 2 digits, isn't it? So we have to round off this to the nearest tens. So first when we are rounding off 156 to the nearest 10, what we should do is we have to check the digit at ones place. So here it is 6. So we know that 6 is greater than 5. So we have to add 1 to the tens place. So 5 will become 6. And what about the digit at ones place? It should be 0. And we have to leave the digit at hundreds place as itself. So it will be 1 itself here. So when we are rounding off 156 to the nearest tens, we get the answer as 160. So now what about 45? We know that the digit at ones place is 5. 5 is equal to 5. So we have to add 1 to the digit at tens place. So when we are adding 1 to the digit at tens place, we get the answer as 5 there. And put a 0 in ones place. So now we can find the difference. 0 minus 0, we get 0. 6 minus 5, we get it as 1. 1 could be written here. Now we get the answer as 110. The estimated value is 110. Now, the last question is to find the sum of 2 numbers. So it is 296 and 271. We have to find the sum. So look here, we know that both the numbers are of same number of digits, isn't it? So what we have to do? We have to round off these numbers to the nearest hundreds. So first we can do 296. So here what is the digit at tens place? It is 9. So we know that 9 is greater than 5. So what we should do? We should add 1 to the digit at hundreds place. So it will become 3 and put 0 in tens and ones place. So when we are rounding off 296 to the nearest hundreds, we get the answer as 300. Now we can do same for the next number, that is 271. Look, the digit at tens place is 7. So we know that 7 is greater than 5. So we have to again add 1 to the digit at hundreds place. So we'll get it as 3 and put 0 in both tens and ones place. Now when we are adding, we get the answer as 600. So the estimated value will be 600. To estimate products. For finding the estimated value, we have to round off each number to its greatest place and then find the product. What we have to do is to round off each number to its greatest place and then find the product. I'll explain it with an example. Consider the number 49 and 325. We have to find the product. So, what we have to do is, we have to check the digits, number of digits in each of the numbers. So, what about 49? How many digits are there? There are 2 digits. And what about the greatest place? It is that of the tens. So, we have to round off 49 to the nearest tens. When we check the digit at ones place, we know that here it is 9. So what we'll do? We'll add 1 to the digit at tens place. And it will become 5. And put 0 in ones place. So when we are rounding off 49 to the nearest 10, we get it as 50. Now check the next digit. That is 325. Here how many digits are there? There are 3 digits. So what about the greatest place? It is that of the hundreds. And what about the digit at tens place? It is 2. We know that 2 is less than 5. So we have to keep the digit at hundreds place as itself and put 0 in both tens and ones place. So we have got the estimated value as 50 and 300. Now what we should do? We should just multiply them. 50 into 300. We'll get the answer as 15,000. We get the answer as 15,000. This is our estimated value. Now we'll do another example. Take the numbers 122 and 736. We have to find the product. So, here when you are checking, you can see that both the numbers have 3 digits. So, what is the greatest place? It is the hundreds. So, when we are rounding off 122 to the nearest hundreds, what we should do? We should check the digit at tens place. It is 2. So when we are rounding off, we know that 2 is less than 5. So we have to keep the digit at hundreds place as itself and put 0 in both tens and ones place. So we got the answer as 100. Now what about the next number? It is 736. The digit at tens place is 3. Again 3 is less than 5. So we have to keep the digit at hundreds place as itself and put 0 in tens and ones place. So we got the estimated value as 700. Now what we should do? We should multiply them. 100 into 700. We'll get the answer as 70,000. So our estimated value is 70,000. So this is how we'll do the estimation. And this is for today's session. Thank you. Have a nice day.